So yeah, last week, me and Felix, we finalized our part. So now, except Marisa will finalize the presentation and we'll have the quiz for the students that we have prepared.
Great. So welcome everybody back to the HRM class. As you just heard from Professor Minsu Kim, she's going to start talking about things, but as we all should be aware, we're getting close to the end of term. You guys have been given an opportunity to manage yourselves. It can be quite chaotic, but you're starting to get into it. Make sure you understand you need to manage and present certain details in order to get points throughout our course. We are now talking about rewards, compensation. We just started last class talking about performance management details. So while we have a presentation from Minsu Kim and Felix, I believe Marissa's in that group too, make sure you realize that if you just sit and listen quietly, that's nice, it might be polite, but you can get better results yourself if you comment and help the topic, provide some more details that you might have shared. After Minsu Kim's presentation, other groups should be sharing their research details. This week, I've extended the deadline and provided an opportunity for more people to get points by sharing your background literature. So each and every single student should be sharing some of the articles you found, and that would be part of your background literature details. I have gone through and we've seen some folders, we've seen some website links, we've seen some specific articles, but since we're near the end of the term, I want to see your writing. I want to see your Word file or your PPT where you're going to be presenting these files to the class soon. Any questions? Is there anybody else that wants to have the screen shared? Minsu Kim, you want the screen shared?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
As I find you, I see you, but I can't find you in the participant list. If you put your hand up, it's easier to find. Okay, good. Thank you for helping with that. Yes, you are now co-host. Anybody else want to try to get extra points for sharing your background literature before Minsu starts? No? Okay. Minsu Kim, take it away. Thank you very much. We look forward to, again, talking about human resource management today with performance management systems, and then we're going to be getting into the rewards. And remind you guys all that you get rewards. You get paid with class marks for commenting and helping understand this topic, share the topic. Go ahead, Minsu.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Minsu Kim. In my group, there's Felix and Marisa. And last week, we started our presentation for performance managed system. Before finalizing it, I would like to summarize a little bit about what we presented last week in case people don't remember in details. So performance management. So last week we showed a video which was describing about how to do a performance management system. An actual performance management system is a systematic approach to measure the performance of the employees in a company. So when a company has a performance management system, the system facilitates the attainment of the individual, the employee, with the corporate goals of the company they are trying to achieve. And through the system, they are able to track and monitor the performance of the individual, the employee, or a certain department, and from the organization overall. So the last week, after explaining a little bit about the performance management system and the analysis, we talked about some general problems that might have come with the performance management system, some errors that might occur during the performance analysis. And then we have described a few pros and cons. So for example, we said that the performance management system provides an encouragement to the staff, and when it rewards the staff for job well done, and it also enables the employees to have growth in the company. But sometimes I feel disadvantage as is that it might be complex, or there might be involved some legal issues, or it can be time consuming on the preparation for the performance management evaluation form. And then in my part, I had described a few methods of performance managed system, which I describe in a little bit more details from number 1 to number 10, which includes management by objectives, multi-rater assessment, which is also called 360 assessment, um, graphic rating scale, behaviorally anchor rating scale, critical incident appraisal, essay appraisal, checklist, forced choice rating, ranking methods, and work standards application. And then now appraisal. And now Marissa will finalize our presentation by talking about the company's information regarding the management system.
Exactly. So we have some examples that we wanted to present according to the performance management system in different companies. And our first example of applied performance management system is a Danish company, Danfoss, which was founded in 1933 by Mats Clausen. It mainly manufactures products and provides services in the fields of cooling food, air conditioning, heating, gas compressors, and powering mobile machinery. With their slogan "Engineering Tomorrow," they also provide new renewable energy solutions concerning world climate issues, urbanization, and food challenges. Exactly. Next one. The key values for Danfoss management are the creation of a culture with accountability, transparency, and sustainable growth. To achieve that, the company changed their whole internal approach in 2009 as efficiency continued to decrease and the company slowed down growth intensively. The main idea here was to bring the whole organization on one boat through introducing new incentives to the global workforce. So the overall system was created is called Danfoss Business Systems, which is ensuring important factors like quality, low product errors, safety, higher machinery efficiency, but especially the training of sales staff, which introduced more than a 10% increased productivity over the last years. So a key element in the performance management of this company is the high emphasis on ongoing talent management through the principle of making sure that the basics are valued right and executed in a very strict manner. Hence, the approach towards the overall talent management are simplified and consolidated through continuous improvements made by constant follow-ups.
How is any other company different? What I see on your chart, isn't that what almost every company would want to say? Isn't that what every company would say?
I think so. But
Okay.
the problem here is that it's not a problem, but they said themselves that their international sales they went down like a lot before 2009, and they admitted to themselves that they had to change the whole system in order to increase it again and be like more efficient throughout the whole company. Um, that's why,
Thanks for
because it didn't
clarifying
work
that.
out well. The communication, what?
Thank you for clarifying that. Can you just
Okay.
help the rest of the students understand what specifically changed? What was the detail? Because the overall information we're hearing, it's a good generalization for the overall topic, but what specifically did they
Mhm.
change?
They went back to the basics. That's the main thing because before they tried to get a lot of performance management systems and like a lot of like they made a net between like the communication of the whole company and all different departments, but it didn't work out perfectly. Like the efficiency just went down, and they said like, stop, we have to do it the right way, and they started from the basic again and be like, okay, and they went they started very low and say, okay, the communication have to simplify it basically. Before it was it didn't work well because everybody, I think, was a bit confused because the system was too complex. And yeah, and now they say like we do the basics right and do it strict. And before it was okay, we try to do a lot. Let's see if it works, but it did not work. So yeah, they do the basics.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry for me interrupting. I was just wondering if you could help clarify for the students details. Please continue.
Okay. So the other example is Apple, and the appraisal. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's focused on Apple as it gives an idea about a performance management on a way bigger scale than, for example, in Danfoss. The bigger investment of a more complex performance management system makes sense because there are way more employees involved than, for example, in Danfoss. And the overall goal management of Apple is described by immediate information sharing with employees, a discussion, and a big part of contribution, as Steve Jobs already said, the best ideas have to win, and it's not about hierarchy in this company at all.
I think Samsung says the same thing. However, I think that it's pretty easy to argue that there's still a very big hierarchy in Samsung. So how about you guys, as the leaders in our performance management, how about you select some of the students in our class and get them to guess what are some ways that they think Apple is doing this, or your other company could be doing this? How could any student or any person in class that has a company or is working with a company promote this? Basically, I'm giving you an opportunity to make sure the students are understanding what you're talking about. Get them involved.
Okay. I mean, I'm also talking about it in the next slide, but yeah, we can also just do it like this. I don't know, does somebody wants to try and guess?
quite the challenge, huh? In Asia, managing HR, you need to actually pick people or assign people to groups to do it. So how about you just pick somebody?
Okay. Maybe Gunsu, can you say something to this? Like, it's just about how they interact with each other, like how they improve their communication and the hierarchy, like how well communication is to, inside of the company, right?
Right, we have generalizations, and now we're trying to get our classmates to jump in and be creative and actually perform. Not just managers need to perform, but the workers need to perform, and our classroom is very similar to a company. So everybody knows we're focused on how we can improve performance, how we can improve productivity. And so you are giving opportunity, pay, I will give points, I will pay students to actually guess, how can you get performance improved? How can you get productivity improved?
Okay. Gansu, can you say something to this?
Gansu, no? Let me help. Unsu Lim, can you guess? Or Jacobir, can you guess? Sangajo, we're waiting for anybody in class to guess. Otherwise, we're going to have to move on. I can't pay you with points. Felix, Minsu, you guys are both experts in this. How about you just list out a couple of specifics that companies can do to increase performance?
So for me to give the options that they can choose. Okay, so there are the management by objectives, the motivator assessment, the 360 assessment, the graphic rating scale, the behaviorally anchor rating scale, the critical incident appraisal, the essay appraisal,
Oh boy,
chat.
if I am providing many different ways in our class. That last one, did you say essay appraisal? Do you want me to give you guys essays for appraising? Maybe we'll accept that one. Delete that one. But yes, there are, thank you for reminding the class on all of the different ways that companies can do things. And so the first company you talked about, they tried one system. Apple is trying one system. We mentioned how you're going back to the basics, you're doing things. Apple is saying we're trying to get away from hierarchy. Great. But how? Like getting away from the hierarchy, that basically is the definition of 360-degree feedback. You don't care only about your manager, you care about everybody, your teammates, the janitor. Everybody around you is entitled to give compensation performance feedback. Sorry, again, I apologize for interrupting. I'm trying to help Felix, Marissa, Minsu get everybody else involved in the performance of our class today. So please continue, Marissa.
Okay. Yeah. So the appraisal system, where predefined goals are assessed to see if the management and employees were successful in meeting them, looks as follows. So the feedback is ongoing and it's provided to appraiser as well as to the one appraised. And that's what you just said. The feedback is ongoing and it's provided, no, sorry. The employees are assessed based on terms of objectives task and results based on planned goals. This helps the HR department to examine if there's any lack of skill in the process of reaching certain goals. And this also allows then the recruitment according if there's like shortage in the skills.
Great. So before we from that, make sure you guys know today you guys get your own 360-degree feedback. Hopefully, Songa Joe, Hejin John, Unsu Lim, Lada Lachi, hopefully everybody's going to understand what we just said. But today, Marissa, Felix, and Minsu, you will collect this 360-degree feedback. I hope everybody understands what we're saying.
Okay, so the two main tools here are the peer appraisal and the 360-degree feedback. And then finally we come to the coaching process. It's the other side. Yeah, it's necessary in order to give support to employees where and when needed. This involves the overall review of the organizational performance plan, observing and documenting performance, as well as the overall feedback. Especially when expectations are not met by the certain employees, the correction through providing guidance is key. It's very important, the guidance factor. And as Steve Jobs, for example, already mentioned, is that leaders have to act like mentors and coaches rather than bosses. And their main focus should be supporting teamwork. And a strong skill of Apple, for example, what they have is communication. For example, it's not only about top to bottom that information is proceeded, but it's also like from bottom to up. Like it's always like a whole net of information that everybody's informed all the time or like tries to communicate with each other. So everybody can work together. It's like a constant exchange of information. Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, do you have any questions regarding this?
Fun challenge, right?
Yeah.
So I have I'm gonna upload the link for the quiz on the chat of Zoom.
So again, everybody in class, she is just about to give you a test. You should ask questions to make sure it's clear. How about Felix? We haven't heard from you today. You're in this group. Could you help give some tips, study tips, reminder tips? Try to give everybody $1 million salary. Try to give points away. Make sure people understand so they get perfect results on your quiz. Felix,
So
can you help provide some reminders?
maybe some reminders, like it's very important to know the mission and the vision. It's very important that you see that it's a systematic approach that never ends. And you should never, never, never stop doing that. Maybe you should adjust it. You should change it sometimes according to your mission and your vision. But the process should never stop.
Okay, good. Thank you for using it. What else? What are some other things for us to remember?
I think like the way Apple doing like the 360-degree method is pretty good, because you should always like mention what happens below and what happens in the country, in the company, so everybody knows what the company is doing, and everybody's aligned with the mission and vision of the goal what the company has. So you have to align the personal goals of the people with the goals of the company. More?
Again, you guys may be evaluated by your peers. So if you're giving a quiz question that's very difficult, they might not be as motivated to give points. And I am saying that usually you pay your staff very well. I am giving points away for anybody that's working well. It's up to you guys. If you're ready to give the quiz, go ahead.
Just saying, continuous process, that's very important for the other people. It's a continuous process. I have to mention it maybe one more. It's a continuous process.
Okay. Go ahead. We will start our quiz. Maybe you can bring up on your screen the actual quiz questions. What about recording details?
So I already sent the link for the Google form of the quiz on the chat of the Zoom a few minutes ago. So
Yes.
students who want to answer it now, you can, or also we have the questions here.
Great. In order for us to record the details, you can see those questions are online on the quiz. You just need to fill in your name and then click basically ABC for each of the 3 questions. With that said, while we are going through it, how about do you guys have anything else to say with your group? Minsu's finished, Marissa's finished, Felix is finished. Even though you presented your weekly topic, you're still entitled to get more points for talking about your research topic. Can I give you guys more points for your productivity with your research? Has anybody seen those details? Maybe Julian, did you want to remind people about the free marks we're giving away before November 11, Remembrance Day, Remember Day?
Yes, so we've just sent an email last week, and we just wanted to make you aware of the fact that you should have some advancement with your final research project. So because it's a half term, you should be aware that you should have somehow half of the work done, and we wanted actually to give some incentive to you if you will be showing your advancement with this process. Okay, so if you have something done additional from the first moment when by the week 3 you actually shared your idea, it would be nice to hear what do you have at this moment regarding your research project. And you could share from this perspective, you could share what other articles, Scopus articles, are you preparing to insert in this research? This is one thing. Another thing is that you should start filling grant application, focus somehow on that project. You should show us some progress in contacting the target company, and ideally you should also be starting working on some video regarding this idea. I had some questions during the weekend from some of your colleagues, and they were asking, okay, what's the idea about this? And I said that actually you should imagine yourself not like a student and not like preparing something for Professor Watts, but you should imagine and position yourself like a consultant for the company that you are researching about. So if you position like a consultant, you are actually you have to deliver some benefit to them, and this is why you are doing this project. So you are researching, researching about the company, but at the same time you research about ways to improve their processes and to improve their systems. So once you so you research about companies, then you research in the literature, you research about Scopus papers, then you will have to come with some document, like research document on yourself. That would be something looking more or less like a Scopus article on itself.
I can help with some of this. So everybody sees in the Facebook group that you cannot survive through this class if you just write a term paper at the end. You need to show your development. You need to show your work each week. You need to show articles you are referencing on several different weeks. And so the full article, the full details of your research will be presented in a PPT or a term paper, or both, as we see here. And the middle part, the easiest part to start with, is by showing the literature that you found. So this class or next class, show these articles that you're finding. Now, since we're going through your quiz, how many people need more time before we close the quiz? Can I see any hands? There's 20 people together with us today. Anybody want more time? Panita, are you finished the quiz, or do you need a little bit more time? Ladalachi, do you need more time? Kyungyeonjung, do you need more time?
No, I'm done.
Okay. Jakavir, Abdullah, Kanjangjo, I just heard from one person. Are the rest of you still stressed on this? Okay, maybe some people are still a little bit stressed. So I am showing you a video. It's related to our topic. We're talking about performance management, and I want to make sure you're clear. Our next topic is going to be talking about rewards and compensation. So do you know how performance is usually managed? Do you know how compensation is usually managed? Do you know the big picture? This is a short 5-minute video that's going to talk about that. Any questions before we go into this 5-minute video?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Gon, and our group has made a proposal of the grant application, and we wanted to like show you and get some feedback. Can we do it after the video?
Sure. Is there any, as I started the class, is there anybody else in our group that wants to present something today? I hope everybody does.
Our group also have a grant application that we started on.
Okay, let's go through this so we talk a little bit more about the class topics before you guys start going in it. But make sure you guys present your stuff. Make sure you interrupt these details and present before the end of class. So with that said, can you guys hear this?
No.
No, let me see what's going on here. I will get this on another screen. So what this video is about, it is showing the idea of pay, rewards. What we're going to be talking about this week is rewards and compensation. So I want you guys to understand, you guys get pay, you get points in class by talking. It's not just me as the professor that controls things. We have videos, Zoom details are shared. The textbook has been provided, the content has been provided. So I want you guys to be aware where your performance is. Does anybody know how much the average person makes? Like, these are some general concepts here. So when we're going through it, this idea let's
Professor, we can't hear you.
We still can hear you.
any ideas on how wealth is divided in any country? That's what we're talking about. I'm going to be putting you guys in.
Now we can hear you twice.
Okay.
So I'm not able to hear anything from the movie. Maybe you can share the link in chat.
Okay.
Professor, I found the YouTube link. I can share it if you want me to do it. I mean, I can show it if you let me share the screen.
Professor, you're still muted.
So everybody has this link. Please take a look at that. It's a short 5-minute video. You can go through it. You can double time it and speed up the video if you like. Ultimately, the question that I want people to understand is, how is performance usually managed? Usually you manage things with pay, but most people don't think of pay overall. So here is an example. This video is showing you how pay is distributed in almost every country. This is specifically talking about USA, but it's very similar in almost all countries. It's showing how pay in United States is distributed. And as you can see on the screen here, what they're showing is most people hope or dream. The ideal situation is the rich have quite a bit, and then the fourth amount, the next amount of people, the next amount, the poorest, the bottom part, the poorest people in a country get this much. That's what they hope. But then they think the reality is the rich get a lot more. But what I'm asking you guys, does anybody want to guess what is the actual distribution of wealth in the US or in any country? Kyung-gun John, you started kindly with this. Can you guess? What do you think is the actual wealth distribution in USA or in Korea or China or any country?
Do I answer it with,
Just,
I mean, the amount of money, or how? I mean, I don't
what
really
I'm
get it.
saying is the distribution of wealth. How, for example, you can say the top 1% gets 5% of all money, and the bottom 1%, how much percent of all money do they get paid? Something like that.
I believe that the bottom does not even get not even 1% of the distribution, but I believe that like top 3% will get approximately 70% of the America's distribution, not only in
Good.
America but other countries.
Awesome. What about Angara Suksana or Bonita or Ladalachi? Can you guys guess? Similar type of guess for the same question. I don't even know if you're here. I can't give you points that way. Felix, I see you're at the top of the screen. What do you think wealth distribution is in your country or in USA?
I think there's like a socialism model that says like everybody has the same. That's definitely not true. Then normally if you ask people, they say like, yeah, 80% goes to the top 20, But I think it's like more like 85, 90% goes to the top 20, and the rest is like the bottom. Like the second bottom are pretty low. So I think they're so low that you maybe don't see them at all. And the middle is maybe only 10%. That's what I think.
Good. Hyanak Do, did you understand what Felix just said? What do you think this wealth distribution is? How much are the top 1%, or how much is the top 10%? Or in this case, we're dividing the world into top 20%, bottom 20%, etc. How much do you think the top 20% actually get paid versus how much does a regular person get paid?
I believe like top 20% will get about like 70 to 60% of like total, maybe in total income, and like the lowest group, I mean like top 5% of like I mean bottom 5% may get like about 1% of proportion in total, I believe.
Okay, so in here, this is a different chart. What they're showing here, as you can see, the 1%, the top 1%, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Don't forget salary, pay, performance. There's many things that reward performance. Today, we're talking about what rewards performance. In our class, points do. But in addition to that, what else in our class rewards performance? Most people are just keeping blinders on. They've been students for many years and they think marks are the only thing you're working for. Well, that's not the reality. Bill Gates never went to school. You know, he didn't finish that. So how did he get compensated? Anybody? Kyung-gun Jung? How are students in class or any people rewarded?
I mean, get reward
In class, yes, in any class. Let's say
by their achievement.
Psychology 101. How do you get rewarded from Psychology 101? Your next class today or this week? Go ahead.
By the achievement, or
what does that mean?
That
anybody, all of you, please start yelling out possible ideas.
Their skill, their talent.
Talent. So you develop your talent by studying something, okay?
By being proactive, like by being a leader. So for
You
example,
get to be a leader. You
even
can
though,
say that you're class leader, yes.
for example, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they might not have graduated from a university, but I think it's because they felt that the university was like not enough for the activities that they were able to do to accomplish. So for example, they knew they could do better. So working on the other activities that they were really good at by being proactive, they
So
had
what are some other activities any student in our class can work on other than just trying to get a class grade?
Scholars.
Get a scholarship. Okay, good. If you are at the top 1%, definitely you can get a scholarship. What else?
And some certification that is from the country, the government.
Okay. Now we're getting closer. Don't forget, I've reminded you guys that you guys are part of the school, so you guys can make certificates and award that to your classmates. So at the end of the semester, you could win some certificate and say on your resume, you won this certificate for your class activities, like a research certificate or industry collaboration certificate. Some of you seem to be skipping the whole idea of internships. So what they're showing here is the top 1%, they get stocks, bonds, mutual funds. A lot of people in Korea would love to get just a yearly paycheck. How much is the average yearly paycheck in Korea? Does anybody know? Wow, you don't know. What about Felix in Germany? Do you know what's the average pay in Germany? Marissa, do you know what the average
I think
pay
it's
in Denmark?
3,100 euros a month, like where I live.
3,000 euro per month. Okay, so that's about 36,000 euros, 38, $40,000 per year. Okay, with that as a guideline, any guess for Korean average pay?
I think Korean was like 2,200, 2,300, something around that. I'm not sure.
So $24,000 per year is what we're guessing.
Was 23,000 a month, 2,300 a month, so $2,800 a month, monthly.
Okay, so $20,000 to $25,000 per year. Is that what Kyanakdo? Is that what you're searching for? Is that what you think would be good when you graduate? Because this is not university graduates. That's average. Everybody in the country, including 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. Anybody else? Let's hear from somebody else as this is going on. Hey, Jinjun, Hamin Park. What do you think is a normal rewards? Can you just simply read the screen? How much is a CEO making compared to an average worker? Marissa, since you're the presenter today.
I mean, the screen says that the CEO makes 380 times the average worker's pay.
Right, and it's not just the youngest, it's not the poorest, it's not just the student pay, it is the highest and the lowest, the average, right? So if you are working for most companies, the CEO is not usually making the same as you. Denmark, for example, would you like to comment on that, Marissa? Are you aware of details?
Yeah, I think the average pay in Denmark is like one of the highest in Europe as well. I think it's annually around $60,000. No, less, 55,000 euros.
55, 60,000. So the average person is making about $55,000, $60,000 a year. Yeah, that's correct. That's close to United States average pay, they're saying. And don't forget, that's the highest pay and the lowest pay, not just the lowest pay. And so what we see on here, these green blocks, that is actual cash. And as you can see here, the bottom part, the poorest people get such low pay, you can't even see them with a microscope comparatively. And this part in the middle that you can see, That is this highest level. That top 1% is getting so much pay that all of this pay keeps going up. It goes off the chart, and then it keeps going up. So that top 1% is way off the chart. Those are the examples of the top CEOs. So make sure you realize when you go to a company, that company, it's not just paying for performance. There's nobody that can actually make that type of productivity overall, right? There's nobody in the world that's 380 times better than any other human being. So think about that. Realize how the system is set up. What are some possible rewards? Marissa just said $50,000, $60,000 is what some people in an equal country in Denmark get paid. But there are many CEOs that are able to expense a garbage can that costs $60,000 as an office expense, company expense. So the company will pay for a rug that might be $100,000 or a garbage can, which is $60,000 more than the average pay of a typical worker. So this type of link that you see here, hopefully you take it for granted. Hopefully you don't take it for granted. You see performance is very, very important. Why are we talking about it? Because I am trying to give pay away. I'm trying to be socialist, and a lot of people in class are still quiet. Now, several of us in class have research. They've started. Can any of you show the details of what you found with your research articles? Have any of you started writing your term paper? If you show that, I can give you a lot more marks.
I just wanted to add real quick that, for example, the most equal pay, like wealth distribution countries, I think Norway, like the Scandinavian countries are very, very high in equality when it comes to wealth distribution.
Yes, and I believe it's still more than 200 times more what the average CEO is making. For example, I believe Norway, is that where Maersk is? Some of the world's biggest transportation companies and the CEOs, again, making many hundreds of millions of dollars. Let me show you one other figure before we get into the class details. Here is a PPT, and it's talking about one specific article. So salary, compensation, and rewards, what we're talking about in class this week and next week, if we look into the specifics, not generalizations, corporate governance, CEO compensation, and firm performance. Here is a summary, the abstract. We find that board and ownership, CEO structure, explain a significant amount of cross-sectional variation in CEO compensation. So how much do CEOs get paid? It depends on the board. So there's board of directors that help determine CEO pay. But you need to think about who makes the board. Well, the CEO selects the board. For example, if you just select anybody like Steve Jobs did, that board can come in, take over the details, and fire you. Steve Jobs was fired. But when the board wasn't able to run it that well, he was brought back in, and he replaced those guys that fired him with people that were closer to friends of his. So most boards are connected somehow, and they're paid by the CEO. So you don't usually want to say bad things about the CEO. So that should give you a hint about details. So we're talking about CEO compensation. And if we get into it a little bit more, this is old information and it keeps growing. Everybody knows Apple, iPhone. Tim Cook, soon as he started as CEO of Apple back in 2011, did you guys realize he had $378 million in pay for a year? $132 million just in stock, which was spread over 8 years. And the next year, 2012, he got a 55% salary increase, and almost everybody approved that. And they didn't even know who Tim Cook was. So let's look at some other people.
Can I just say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I read also like some articles about the compensation structure, especially for like stock. Because normally what I read that the people sitting inside this compensate, like deciding about that, that they say like, oh yeah, just give them more. Stock doesn't cost us anything, but they cost. So they don't assume like stock is money they give away.
Okay, yes, the idea of stock can be confusing. Hopefully last week you were aware Jack Ma was hoping to become something like $37 billion richer from one of his spin-off companies just going online. And the stock that was going to be sold online was going to reward him something within 24 hours, 30, I think it was $37 billion more. Let's look at another case. Here is a typical real estate company. David Simon of Simon Property Company, he got paid $137 million in 1 year. However, with the stock and the investors, the stock owners, they supposedly control the company, right? But if in the stock you vote not to do something, 73% of these investors rejected it. They voted they don't want to give it to him, but he got it anyway. Why? Because the CEO is automatically the voice of everybody in the company. And if somebody starts complaining, you can say, okay, you need to show me everybody agrees with you. If they don't, I, by default, am the standard of what everybody says. So he can say, everybody agrees with me, I get it anyway. Next, popular companies like Oracle. He's getting $77 million a year, and it's been for many, many, many years. So is this just money hungry, greedy companies? Anybody think that's different with, I think a student was talking to me about somebody had cancer and somebody was volunteering. Are cancer societies different? Are volunteer organizations different? Anybody want to guess? Kim Gang Jung? Do you think the Red Cross health people that volunteer to help people, do you think that those executives get paid less? Marissa says, yes, sort of. She kind of says it with body language. Thank you for your body language. Look at the, again, this is old and it keeps climbing. Tim Cook, $378 million 1 year. Then we go down to Motorola or Discovery Channel, $52 million. You guys know of Walt Disney, $31 million. Marathon Oil Company, $29 million. Now, if we look at the charities, this guy, I'm not sure if you don't know him or not, but he's the American Cancer Society CEO. He was paid $2 million a year. What about the idea of professors, university? Here is a professor in Columbia University. The university is paying this professor $3.7 million per year. Relax, I'm not paid millions of dollars a year, but I just want you guys to be aware of what is around you. Nonprofit executives, 6 of 3,000 nonprofits paid executives more than $1 million. So when you see a company that says they're nonprofit, it doesn't mean they're working for free. Same thing with hospitals, charities, universities. There's a bunch of this. This actually goes through and it shows you the gross revenue is the revenue of a company. So as a company gets more and more money, you would think the pay goes up, but it doesn't. The actual pay, CEO pay, is actually going down. So the dividends, some people say that's important, but this shows the dividends are not important. So the CEO pay actually is not related to how much money the company makes. If we keep going through it, you can see here the salaries versus net income of the company. Same thing. This blue is showing the net income. Sorry, the red is the CEO salary, which can be high, and the net income is, sorry, I keep messing that up. CEO salary is the blue. Many of them are making $20 to $85 million, and it doesn't directly relate to other details. Let's, we've gone through, there's a variety of details there. The literature review, the research is actually showing there's a growing literature suggesting that US board of directors are ineffective due to certain things. For example, the CEO determines what information that board looks at. when the CEO, when a company gets pay decided for the CEO is the one that allows the board what to pay for or what to check. For example, they ask an outside consulting company to determine how much they're paid. Well, that CEO has to approve which company they use. And he can check with that consulting company to make sure they're biased towards him or not. I'm not saying there's good things or bad things. I'm just trying to show the reality. A lot of students think you just have to follow what your professor says, but remember, you determine usually the pay that the university can give. You can protest this, even though you saw in some countries, some CEOs and some professors get $1 million stock options and $1 million pay packages. So with that said, let's go back to the participants in our class. Are there other students that want to start sharing your research findings? What do you have related to your research?
Professor, I just want to show the grant, not the research today. Is it okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Give me a second. Can you allow me to share my screen?
You already have the co-hosting capability.
Great. Can you guys see? Actually, our group made up. We did not want it to have a school organization at school. So we just made up a organization. It's called HR Consulting for You. The purpose of the project is to give how do I say, to assist and give supports to the company's HR system, which is talent poaching. It's like scouting the talents from the other competitors, but it is scouting, but I just wanted to call it as poaching as a strategy. And I will send the file, but I just wonder that if making the name and the organization is available or not.
You're asking if the name of an organization is available? With the grant inquiry, every student is required to find usually a big multinational company that's making crazy big amount of money, and because they make so much money, they give money back. So it looks like you are asking a HR consulting company for money.
Yes. But because we should not, because what I thought was I should not write my name because it is not reliable and I don't have any like power to support. That's why maybe I thought I should have just used and that's why we used Gaming University as our organization. But maybe I thought creating an organization, and this is just a proposal.
Good. Can somebody help show you understand the performance management and the rewards? If you are a grant manager, based on this, what would you be thinking? I would like you in class to understand when somebody gives you some sort of reward, their class marks, or if they're asking for money, what would you be thinking of? What would you be looking at? Anybody want to try to comment? If any of you are asking for money from an organization, if you say you're from a consulting company, that means you are a private company.
Yes.
Trying to grow and become profitable. So some other company like Toyota or GM or Ford, they made money and you actually sort of compete with them.
Actually, I thought I would give suggestions to the Toyota's HR department. So it's like you guys should operate your business and HR system like our suggestions. So we are getting paid by the giving opinions and suggestions to the corporate.
Great. If you're talking about helping a organization in a developing country where most organizations are not working effectively, they're not the world's best, then rich, successful companies would be grateful that you are helping poor organizations. If we're in Korea, most people think Korea is a rich country, so most companies here, they might assume, is rich. And so this Toyota or Ford or GM, Google, Microsoft, they would think that they're going to be giving money to a rich company that is a generally a for-profit company. Your HR consulting for you. Is that how would that be interpreted? Kanakdo, what do you think?
Yes, Professor. Can you just like can you tell me the question again?
May I comment something, if possible?
You guys are at class. Can you comment? Felix and Marissa, maybe you can help Hyuna.
So I need to give some
Marissa?
comments on.
No comments?
I can't
Okay.
really hear you. Sorry.
I will, I'll help. Since this is a grant we're talking about, usually the company is very rich. They have to give money away so that the world thinks they're helping people develop. If people are paying another company, they think they're not helping really anybody. We need to be very clear, it is a poor company that needs help. And any consulting company, there's no association or image of it needing help. If you say you're part of a university, most people think universities are nice. They're supposed to be helping young people understand details. So when you say your organization is a university, it's easier to get grant money than if you're with a for-profit consulting company. So when you describe your organization as a university, it's better than saying a consulting company. Does that make sense? Kyungbanjang?
Not really clear.
Okay, I will explain more.
Okay,
When
if you allow me to rephrase.
Okay.
So first of all, Kyung, you should imagine that you are writing some grant application that will actually work. It's not, I mean, for the first moment, because we have something to discuss on it, it is very well, it's very good. But you should imagine of something that it will actually bring you money. Okay. What Professor Watts is kind of pointing is that nobody is going to, I mean, it's less probable that you'll receive money if the others that you are asking money from, they perceive like you are rich and you don't need the money. Okay, so he's pointing out that it might be better to present yourself like from a group of students, okay, instead of presenting yourself like a consultant. A consultant is supposed to have money already, but as a group of students or from a university, they may need actually money to develop themselves. So the company will look better if they give money to people that will benefit more. Okay, so for the first idea, making a grant proposal, it's very good how you did until now, because we have something to discuss on it. However, just imagine on something that it will actually get the money out from somebody. Okay.
Okay.
So being a student gives you an advantage.
Marissa is about to talk, but I just want to just remind you about what the PPT and the reward system is talking about. Your rewards and the selection of your rewards depends on what other people perceive about you. So the large perspective of other people, like the grant organization, what do they think? If you are with a school, that's better than a company making money. If you're with a university, that's better than a consulting company. If you're from a rich company, it's definitely competing with you, so it's not good. If you're from a rich country, also they will think that you don't need money. If you're from an organization that needs money, that's good. So make sure you understand that perception or the perspective of other people is important, and start checking the idea of what is your organization size. If you're a small consulting company, the world's not going to really care that money's going to you. If you're part of a school that has 1,000 people in the school, then it's better than a consulting company. If you're with a school that has 10,000 or 20, 30, 40, 50,000 students, that is better than a small school. If you're with a grant organization that has 10,000 people or 50,000 people in one country and another university in another country, it's much, much more attractive. So the organization size, it's not just one organization, it's who that grant operator is working with, and the environmental conditions. If you're in a rich country like Denmark or Norway or United States, sometimes it's harder to get money than if you're in India or Nepal or Vietnam. Those type of things are important. Marissa, you had your hand up. What was it what you were going to say?
Yes, it actually fits perfectly to what you just said, because when I was younger in school, we did something like a student firm. And I mean, also, if Germany or Denmark is a rich country, we were like a very, very diverse group. We had one Indian girl, we had, yeah, we were like from very different nations from around the world. And we were all like very dedicated to learn something, and we really wanted to help other firms as well, like evaluating problems and everything. So it was way easier for us. For example, that could also be an idea. I don't know what you think about it, but instead of saying we're all from a university, maybe it sounds more involved if you also say like we just created our small student firm in order to learn more and be more involved.
Good. So Kyunggon Jong is basically doing the same thing that your group did. He is basically making his own consulting company with other students, which is admirable because he's actually trying to develop himself. Let's get back into the class notes. We just finished talking about the organization size important. If you're just a small group of students, Toyota or GM or Google, whoever is going to give you money, they're not going to have trust in you if you're super small. They think they're not going to be helping many people. The bigger the organization, the more points, the more trust you get. The more people that work with your organization, the better. The more people you help, the better. That's the environmental conditions. So I think you can see those details. Then we come back to this concept. So organization size is important. The environmental conditions is important. That grant motivates people to not just like your consulting company or university, but how does the grant make the stockholders of Toyota or Apple or Microsoft or Ford, how do the stockholders or the world motivate the world to accept that super rich, crazy company? Remember that super rich, crazy company is giving money away because they have too much, and maybe people hate them. So if they just give it to another small group of people that might be rich, that makes it worse. You need to understand what motivates them. So you need to show there is trust in management. If you're a private company, you might not have trust unless you're super famous. If you are super famous, people might not think you need it. As we just saw with the American Cancer Society, that CEO is making $2 million a year. Even the UNICEF, they're making more than $500,000, $1 million per year for our top executives there. They may not need it as much as smaller organizations. So do you have trust in management? Universities usually do, even though some professors get millions of dollars. The American Cancer Society, usually it does have trust, or the UNICEF usually does have trust in management because they do very good marketing. So make sure that you're checking those things. And the measurement systems. We are saying we need to be aware of measurement systems, but as Marissa and Miss Minsu was just saying, even big companies try to use good measurement systems and fail. Steve Jobs was failed and was fired. Some good companies try to develop things, and it's still really hard. So we need to be looking at the specifics. The ability to pay. For example, if you're asking for money from somebody, it should be from some company that has the ability to pay. If they're going to be giving money to somebody, like you students, make sure that you appear to be somebody that can do good and make that company look good. A consulting company might not make a super rich company look good publicly unless you're focused on HR development. Does that make sense? So again, these are just the PPT that students should have gone through before class. We're almost out of time. I'd like to hear more from the students that are presenting these details. Who else wanted to share your research?
Can I show briefly the grant that we wrote?
Yes, please.
So I'm a little bit we had a little bit of trouble when writing this application because we weren't sure exactly how to prepare it. For example, on the briefly describe your organization, I was wondering if I should describe the Keimyung University or the organization that we are applying for. For example, because I found that Samsung Dream Scholarship Foundation, they provide scholarship to students, and it's kind of monetary grant, kind of grant to students who apply for it. But I wasn't really sure if it would be applied to a project like ours, but still, since we are it wouldn't be an official grant application, just pretending.
Okay. It's good. Feel free to use a grant application for Samsung. That's fine. However, volunteering basically didn't exist overall. Obviously, there's missionaries, there's travelers that volunteer, but overall, community did not accept volunteering in Asia. Foreigners were not allowed to participate in public volunteering activities just up until a few years ago. So what that means is that giving to others, other than your friends, is not normal in Asia. So although Samsung is starting to do it, you could try, but it would probably be much easier to get a grant from any developed organization that is in an environment that has been giving grants away for many years. Samsung is just starting. So for our class, since you don't actually have to apply for a grant, you just need to show you understand it and you have some type of application, great, continue with this. But it will be harder to win the grant if you actually want it on your own later. Does that make sense, Minsu?
A little bit.
And you
said I should describe our university in this briefly. Okay.
And so when you describe your university, you describe your university has 25, 35,000 people in the university. You've been in operation for, I don't know, 100 years. What would be even better is if you say that not only are you part of the university, but you have an executive in the university that has been working with grants in many countries for many years. That type of experience doing these type of things would be good. And even though Minsu, Felix, Marissa, you're doing well developing this, you are a student, and the people in Toyota or Apple or Microsoft giving the grant, they would trust the student less than somebody that's much higher in the organization. So since this is just fictitious, it's imaginary, you might want to say the VP of the university or the director of community involvement in the university is helping with your grant. That type of thing would help you, even if you manage the communications for him and have that person only as an advisor. Thank you. Make sure you give yourself some marks for that.
So here would be the leading people engaged on the project.
Yes.
So
Good.
I got your information from, I think, LinkedIn profile.
Thank you for scanning. Yes, anybody can use me, but you can use anybody. You do not have to use me. Yes.
And then here we describe the purpose of our project. So we describe that one of the biggest challenges for companies is to figure out the best system for the compensation structure on a company. And there are several factors. So in our project is to aims to analyze the field of compensation structure in Korean companies, specifically Samsung, which is the goal of research, and evaluate the important elements that will have a success and at the end be able to have a successful compensation structure. To analyze
Okay.
the problems that might be involved with it.
If I was student A, or if I was the grant manager MNOP, I will read that your project is helping compensate companies in Korea, which I think are already rich. And so you want money to help compensate already rich people. That's what I read.
No, so okay.
Do you see how I read that? And your perception of your environment is viewed?
Okay, so instead, okay, so we should change the wording.
Yeah, you need to use wording that makes it attractive to you.
Employees.
So like Samsung is not going to want to pay money to make rich people even richer. And that's kind of what you look like. If you start and say wealth inequality is a big problem in Korea, maybe one of the biggest wealth inequality countries in the world, then we can focus on fixing the compensation. But you didn't say that, right?
Okay, we'll try to change the word. And then the estimated overall budget, we don't know what would be calculated for, but I was thinking about the article's price because the Harvard Business article review, we have to pay for the articles. There are several other articles that we found, but we have to pay a big amount of money in order to have access to it. So since we don't have access to it, when calculating the budget for the project, we were thinking in including the
okay.
articles.
I understand. Anything else that you have a question with, and I can help all people in the class. Any other questions?
No, I think just to describe the purpose of the project was the main question that we had today.
Okay, let's take a look at this. So I went online, and if you really want to be successful, if you really care, you don't need to do this for class, but you can usually find out big famous companies like Ford, Toyota, GM, Tesla. You can see how they've been giving grants away already. And so you can see here, they gave away a $50,000 grant, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, 400,000. And if you actually search through this, here's one for $1 million, $200,000. The average grant is usually more than $100,000. When you work with small grants, it's more work for them. So if you check that grant company's background and you do what they're already comfortable with, it's easier to win. Understand? And you just redesign your grant to fit that amount of funding. And at the same time, if you click on some of these, you will see what they use the grant for. And so as you were saying, you are making up your own project, which is great, it's noble, but you can see how other people that won grants, what they said before, and you can copy their keywords. Understand? Like when we're in HR management, by the way, class is finished, nobody needs to stay. This is, everybody needs to have a few words describing a grant application. You don't need to do it, but a grant application can help any student almost anywhere in the world get your dream job if you understand it well. So I'm just going to continue explaining how you can use a grant to change your future. Any questions before I continue? Marissa, you're still there. You wanted to check the wording. You can go into these and check what is the things they're trying to learn and develop? What are the ideas they're giving grants for? If you click on these, you should be able to see what they're interested in. Does that make sense? Yes, okay. Great. Again, class is finished, but I will give some more points away if anybody else has any other research to show. Kyunggon Jun, hopefully you guys understand how to change your grant application. Does that make sense, Kyunggon Jun?
So to finalize and to tell you about what I understood is I have to make the grant that I can receive money, or not really money, but I can receive the grant actually, which means, but actually my I thought that my grant can receive money because of the ideas that we have. I mean, we're selling our ideas, not really like a program or a service, but the ideas about how they should manage their employees or strategies.
Yeah, you can do that. As a researcher and a student, you are doing this, right? You're a student or a researcher, you're helping some local company advance. So you can give them ideas like consulting, right? But
Yeah.
you have to remember your image. If you are part of a big university, you look good. If you're just an individual student, nobody knows you, they might not give you money. If you are part of 30,000 students in a university, it's a lot easier to get money, right? It's somebody in here, they have a job to give the money away based off of your image and who you're giving the money to or what you're doing with the money. And so if you go through it, you can see I think you've seen this, that typical, yes, you need to describe your organization, but you need to describe an organization they want to give money to. People don't want to give money to a consulting company for a grant. Do you understand? They're a super rich company. They have to give money to poor people so they look like they're helping. If they give it to another rich company, it doesn't look like they care about poor people that much. Understand?
Yes, I'm typing.
But you can use it for the same thing. As a student, if you could find students in India or students in Vietnam or in Kenya that are doing the same thing, helping local companies develop, then the Ford company is helping your university and a poor university in Kenya or a poor university in Vietnam. You're helping them develop. So they look really good in front of CNN or some newspaper. And as Minsu found out, I thought that you guys knew I was only a professor here. You can use me, but I encourage you to use somebody else. I will help you, but try to use somebody else that has a very impressive resume so that the grant manager will like you, but at the same time, you develop relationships with that valuable other person. If you do the work to get a grant, almost anybody in a university should like you. Does that, that's about it.
Okay, I will work on it and